hoping doesn't come out as jabberwocky. I had a real hard time putting this speech together simply because it's supposed to be serious in the middle and bookended by 2 anecdotes. My mother has recently taken a series of falls. In March, she broke her ankle. In May, she fell and got a compression fracture in her back. She got a walker after that, decided she'd take the dog for a walk. And dog went this way, walker went this way, she went down on her back. After a few more falls, because she's 84 and klutzy, she ended up standing or sitting like this because it felt better. Well, the doctors and nurses all told her, you need to stand up straight. So I started walking into her house every day going, all right, Mom, what are we going to do today? Made her laugh. But more importantly, it reminded her that she needed to stand up straight. How does your family deal with serious illness or injury? I figured out there's 3 types. Number 1, those that take the Scarlett O'Hara approach. I'll think about it tomorrow. The second one are those who are control freaks. You have that yellow legal pad filled with questions when you walk into the doctor's office. And then there's those that are my family, where we use humor in everything that we do. My parents, let me give you a little bit of background. My parents met when they were teenagers in church. They fell in love immediately. They're still in love. And will have been married 66 years in December. I never heard an argument. There was no yelling or fighting in my house. If they had disagreements, it was done behind closed doors because none of us kids ever knew about it. They were themselves one whole that helped each other out. Becoming a caregiver for them over the last several years, I found out a few things I never knew, and I have also remembered things a little bit differently than how they actually happened. First of all, my father retired at the age of 59 in 1990. The reason I say retired is because I recently found out that isn't the correct wording. He was put on permanent disability. He was a train dispatcher. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's an air traffic controller for trains. He made sure they didn't crash into each other. And he did that for 41 years. Very stressful job. And right before that, he was transferred to Indianapolis. So it was a 2.5-hour drive for him to get to work every day. What I remember at the time that it happened, I was an adult, I was married, I had a toddler, and I was pregnant. And I just remember that Dad retired. He went away for 6 weeks to a facility that they wanted him to go to for a little bit after he retired. It was actually a mental hospital. He was probably on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and his blood pressure was so high, they needed to get him settled. I believe things happen for a reason. And when he retired, he became my mother's caregiver. 2 years later, my mother was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, her first one. They made the decision to have a total mastectomy. And my father's reaction was, it's a good thing I'm a leg man. Right? A couple years after that, she was diagnosed with colon cancer. And due to some problems with the surgery and some complications that happened, she ended up with a permanent colostomy. And for those of you who don't know what that is, they rearrange your colon so that it now comes out of your stomach. Well, the joke became, Grandma can poop and sweep at the same time. Not as funny, but she was then diagnosed with thyroid cancer, kidney cancer, and her last breast cancer. In 1992, the joke became, hey Mom, one more cancer and you get your own set of steak knives. So this is what we went through as we were growing up, and we were all adults at this point. So my dad really hid a lot of what was going on in the humor that he presented to us. My father was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he is the 5th in a line of 5 siblings that have all been diagnosed with the disease. He is also the only boy in the family. His brother died from cancer 20 years ago, so they don't know if he would have had Alzheimer's. It's a devastating disease, absolutely devastating. And when my aunts were diagnosed, my father made huge jokes about it. Why? Because he didn't want us to be upset. When he was diagnosed, the day that he was diagnosed, we were all sitting in the neurosurgeon's office, which the neurosurgeon actually is the daughter of a friend of theirs that they've known for 60 years. And she's telling us, and we're listening, and thinking in our minds, oh my God, we've seen it before. We've watched it with my 4 aunts and the decline that they've taken. And as my mother and I were getting up to leave, and of course the tears start pouring, my dad opens the door, turns around and looks at us and says, "Hey, I can hide my own Easter eggs next year." Thank you very much.